Welcome to season three, episode eight, Quaint and Cozy KC. I am here. I'm back after just a wee bit of a hiatus. So much has happened. Today's podcast is going to be a little bit longer than usual. I told you I was trying to keep them between 25 and, 30, 35 minutes, but it's going to be a long one, y'all, because I have a lot to catch up with you on. So when we last spoke, it was a couple of days before my birthday is in mid-April, but I, with everybody having birthdays at that same time, I kind of coordinated and I did my party towards the end of April. I did it at the Brass Rail in North Kansas City, like North Kansas City area, Gladstone area. People are very persnickety about that. I should say north of the river because technically it's not North Kansas City. I don't, it becomes a thing. I saw a whole debate, I think like a 20 comment debate on this a year or so ago. I was like, ooh, this is interesting. And then I was kind of like sipping my tea and taking notes. So, again, so north of the river, probably the most best, the most accurate way to say it. I'm north of the river. So that's where I had it. It was a lot of fun. I had about maybe I thought I was gonna have like maybe 35. I invited people, but you invite 70 people. Maybe if you're lucky, 40 showed up or 25. It's all good. I had like almost 60 people there, I think. And so, in fact, some of them stayed after I left because I had a hard stop because I had another birthday party to go to. Because again, when you push your birthday party back, you're going into the territory of other people's birthday parties. And so I went and I heard my friends Snafu play, and they were playing at Captain's North. And so it was actually like a lot, it was a lot of fun. And so I did that, and then I was home by 10 p.m., the witching hour for those in the quaint and cozy lifestyle sometimes. So I was home by 10 p.m., and that's always a win. So, but before I did all that, I went, and in my last podcast, I mentioned the Vaile Mansion. Now that is located in Independence. And actually, what I didn't realize, because I'm always looking for museums, and like there's always cute little museums, places, and historic homes to tour. And so I didn't realize that it's part of there's other mansions that are available for tours in Independence. I had no idea. I just saw Vail Mansion and it looked really nice in the photos. And so I was like, okay, let's give this a try. So I went there and it was a rainy day. I went there on I think it was April 18th. And it was kind of a rainy day, but honestly, it was perfect because when I think of mansions like this, I think of Agatha Christie novels. I think of those novels like, where it's like the whodunits, or I think of like some kind of like upstairs, downstairs, Down Abbey kind of situation. And so, I liked kind of strolling the grounds because before I got there, I strolled the grounds a little bit, took some pictures, and then, went in and paid the admission. The ladies working there, and there's a gentleman working there as well. They were so kind and so knowledgeable about everything. It was so great to kind of go through and look at all the art. And here's the one thing we always forget, like I forget anyway, is every house has a story, right? I mean, every house, your house, my house, your apartment, whatever dwelling, it has a story, it has history. So I got to learn about, and it's called the Harvey M. Vale Mansion. And it's located at 1500 North Liberty Street in Independence, Missouri. And it was built in 1881 on behalf of a businessman, Harvey M. Vale. And it is an example of Second Empire architecture. Okay. So all of that. And I was like, oh, wow. I kept looking at the architecture and it looks like such a great place to just go have a picnic and just kind of stare up at the house. And again, the gardens, because I went in April, things hadn't already sprouted up. So I'm thinking that if you go in like maybe June or July, you're going to see more floral, like more of a floral background. But it was very interesting to walk through and we kept like every room had a story, like why they chose the furniture they chose. Now some of it wasn't original furniture, because they sometimes what they end up doing for exhibits, they try to find a period piece because maybe the furniture is too damaged from age, or it's just not, or maybe it just disappeared, because a lot of times these houses, they go into this weird thing. Everybody dies, there's not a will, or the people that inherited, they all die off, and so then a lot of things happen, and then damage can happen. And this place has been a couple of things. It has been a sanatorium, which is kind of like a convalescent home for wealthy people that are struggling with things. And then it's also been like, it was like a private home. And then it also was like it's a house museum. And so this is what for me, like walking through this is what I would say. Because you're gonna go up like a couple of like a set of stairs. And so I would say definitely bring walking shoes. And I also and there's great places to take photos, but I'll always be mindful of flash photography. I don't really use flash photography, but I know some people do. Sometimes it's defaulted on your camera, your phone, whatever. So be mindful of that. And also, like, I would love for them to host. I told them, like, I want you guys to come on the program, talk about this. And I thought the ladies were so knowledgeable. And this is for anybody who's got a museum or any kind of historic site. Y'all, please do a podcast. Please do a podcast. Even if you did a podcast that was every other week and just told stories like, oh, here are the three stories we're going to tell, people would listen because it was so fascinating just to, you'd hear it uninterrupted. Like I'm just like giving, like if I had more time, I would do one that was just for historic sites. But I do not have the time as I'm doing Quaint and Cozy KC, and I'm also doing Aunt Laney's Kitchen. So I can't do that. But there's someone out there. There's a history nerd. There's a docent that's like, oh my gosh, this is my jam. I'm being summoned. Yes, you are being summoned right now. Now, I was told again that there are more than like Vail Mansion is not the only one. So it's also recommended that I go to the Bingham-Waggoner estate, and it's like a restored Victorian mansion. So it's got a little bit, it's less gothic looking. It just looks more like, oh, someone actually, a regular person could actually live here currently. So it doesn't have those same kind of vibes that Vale Mansion has, but I'm sure, I haven't been there yet. It looks very interesting. And its architecture style is the Italianate architecture. And so again, that looks a little bit more accessible just for regular people. Like you're like, oh, okay, I've probably seen a house. I've been in a house like this in some way. And then there is the Noland House, and that is it's the Harry S. Truman National Historic Site. So I'm excited to kind of see what that is. So that's his house that he had here. And so that leads me into my first story here, my first segment. So last weekend, I went to downtown Independence because I was at a kite festival in Sugar Creek earlier. I'll get to that after this. And I wanted to try the Courthouse Exchange because I've been to downtown Independence. If you follow me on Quaint and Cozy KC, on that Facebook page, you'll see that I've been there before, and but I wasn't able to go to the Courthouse Exchange because when I went to the farmers market, the Courthouse Exchange didn't open till 11, and I was on a pretty tight schedule, so I couldn't go, and so I finally was able to go, and then I was kind of walking around, and it's under construction, okay, just heads up, but there is like a national, there's like a Harry S. Truman house tour. And so what they do is they've got like an office set up for that. So you don't just kind of show up to the house and they take tickets. No, 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 no. You go to someplace in downtown Independence, park and everything, and then they're like the house is like not very far away. So you buy the tickets there, and then it also has like there's like it's like a little mini museum, and they have a waiting room for you to wait, and there's like maybe a 12-minute film about his life you watch while you kind of wait in between tours. And so again, there's a lot of kind of cool things to see. I did take some pictures. I will post those pictures soon. But that's just something kind of to think about. And obviously, downtown Independence has that farmers market. It has the restaurants. It has, that has some diners. It has some really cool, architecture, but it is under construction. So just be mindful of that when you're driving. Okay, now the event that got me there was the Sky High Kite Festival in Sugar Creek, Missouri, which again was a puddle jump over to Independence. And I loved this festival. So, I had talked about in my previous podcast, I was going to go to a festival at I believe it was the Longview campus in Lee Summit, MCC, but the weather was just like it was kind of rainy, it was kind of windy, and I'm in the North Lane, so that's a 45-minute drive. And I just, not too long ago, driven through like a rainstorm. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna like, I'm just gonna sit this one out. And then it just happened that I looked at, the things I'm interested in. And again, when people ask me, how do you find these things? I'm on Facebook a lot, but there are also, I look at Eventbrite, meetup groups. I also look just online, like there's a lot of Kansas City like the pitch. There's also Kansas City kind of like website online magazines that I look at as well. And so that's kind of how I get some of these ideas and I was like, oh my gosh, I have interested. I could go to this one. And so now the weather wasn't really rainy, but it was kind of on the windier side during the day. And here's what surprised me. So I get there like 10 minutes after the quote unquote start time, and it's in a park. And the funny thing is that I go there and y'all, I swear them people must have been there since 8 a.m. because I was like, oh my gosh. And so I parked on the grass and I was lucky. And as I was kind of like walking around, I saw more and more people kind of going there. And I was like, huh. And because it was located, I just want to make sure I get the state part. So Labanite Park, City of Sugar Creek. And there's like river access on the road. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. It was just really cool to kind of be in that area and take the pictures and really beautiful walking. Like, like just like a walking situation in the trees. I would say it looks like a great place to pop up a picnic because you've got all the scenery, all the things. And there's a lot of people picnicking out there. They had some food trucks out there. I didn't eat anything because I was, again, I'm always in between something. And also, I knew I was going to the courthouse exchange because I was in the area. So I saw a lot of the big kites. There were a lot of people just had kites. I didn't want to like, there's kids and stuff like that, families there. So I didn't want to like invade anybody's privacy by taking up close pictures of them and their kites and all that stuff. But I did get some good shots of the bigger kites. And I also did some video. I think I did a story on there. And I think it might be on TikTok. If not, my Quaint and Cozy KC, I will put it on TikTok. I've got like a backlog because now I've got all these different medias. And then YouTube, I've been uploading some of my podcasts on YouTube. And so I looked, I'm like, oh, I haven't done that in a while. So again, it's like a shell game, but you know what? I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I don't feel any stress doing it. And I'm very passionate about the Quaint and Cozy KC lifestyle. And so there you go. Now, after I left Independence, right? Because I went to the Kite Festival first, then I went to downtown Independence, and then I went to a birthday party for one of my little nephew people, and he was turning 5 and all that. And so I was there for a couple hours taking pictures. And again, this is just me like kind of like going on my soapbox. If you have a chance to take pictures, now listen, taking pictures doesn't mean you need to post them to social media per se, but taking pictures and then sending them to like the people in it, like, I sent it to the mother and the grandmother of like I posted it in the Facebook invitation because I always ask permission to do that. And so, but again, taking those pictures, capturing those moments, whether you post them on social media or not, I think it's just so important. And doing some videos and whatever, it's just so important. You just never know, right? Okay, so now I'm going to kind of use my time machine, and I'm going to take you back to when I went to the Clay County Archives. I went on my birthday. It was a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff to research there because it's all the archives of like, old Clay County, Missouri stuff. So it was really cool going in there. They had an old school card catalog, all the stuff. And then also there's a long table. There's places to research. And they had like, the staff was friendly and knowledgeable. And it's one of those places where it's like, if you are looking for something to do this summer, but they're only open now. Here's the thing: they're not open on Saturdays and Sundays. At first, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" But it makes sense because they're competing with a whole bunch of things on the weekend. So they're open between like 9 and 4 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I would say, because we have internet, we have all these things. You could do like you could start your research online and then maybe pop over if you're in the area for a lunch break, get over there. It's a quiet place to read, and you can get a lot of stuff done over there. If you're one of those people that just needs some silence, and also it's in downtown Liberty. So then, after you do your like, you do your silence things, you can hop on down and get lunch, and or go to an early dinner in the area. So it's perfect for that. And that is to me would be a nice summertime activity. And again, I wish they were open on Saturdays, but I understand why they're not because they are competing with a lot of things. So check them out, Clay County Archives, the library. It's like Clay County Archives Library, I think is what it's called. And it's all like all their paper stuff. Okay, so I've got my time machine going. Now I went to back, I believe it was April 18th. I went to um I want to say was it the 18th? I'm like, look, it's like my time machine. It's like, but do I have a calendar with that time machine? Um, so I went to the Mavericks hockey. Now it was their playoff game. It was like game one of the first, like game one of like their playoffs, like the first kind of game of like starting it off. And so I went, and it was my very first time going to a professional hockey game. Now I've been to hockey games where it was like, for high school or like charity, all that stuff when I was in Minnesota, but I'd never gone to one that was like semi-professional or professional. So I had a lot of fun. Now I couldn't stay the whole time because again, I had a lot of stuff going on and it was in Independence and I'm in the Northland. And the weather wasn't great and I didn't want to get caught up in like a major, storm or anything like that. And so like wind, all that. So I left early. I think I left after there's some kind of stretch thing. I don't know. I don't know hockey well enough. But one of me and my friend, she had to work like a shift like early in the morning and I was like, yeah, I gotta go because I had other things early in the morning too and I didn't want to drive too late. And so that's what I did, but it was so much fun and just all the camaraderie and I like one of the things I like about minor league semi-professional sports is that you're seeing a real game, right? And again, it's real when people do it for charity in their high school, but you're seeing a professional game and you're getting that feel, right? And then everybody in their jerseys and people just really rooting it on because it's pretty affordable to go, and that's important right now. And again, and I support the sports, even professional, semi-professional, all that, but it's something really accessible for local folks to kind of go to because we don't have like an NHL team, like a professional, team in Kansas City. That's all in St. Louis, but it was good to kind of get that feel. It's kind of like when I grew up going to minor league baseball games, and just the vibe, and everyone's having fun, and there were dancing and all the stuff, and watching and cheering, and it was just a lot of fun. It's very accessible, so I'm inviting everybody to look at wherever you're listening from, whether you're listening from the Kansas City area or beyond, you probably have a minor league team of something. Like we've got the Kansas City Monarchs here, and my friends went to a game last night. Unfortunately, I could not make that game, but I saw them play a couple years ago because they played the Savannah Bananas. So I've already seen the Savannah Bananas and it was amazing. And if you can get tickets, because it's kind of hard to get tickets. And I love that. I love that it's super family friendly. It's just a lot of fun. It doesn't last super long. It's like, I think it's like an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. And then but it's a lot of fun and wholesome fun. And I really like that. But maybe you've got something like whether it is a baseball team, a hockey team, minor league basketball, men and women, like all the things that you have. There was a Kansas City Glory is a professional women's football team. I couldn't make the game, their home game, because it was kind of rainy that day. I was just like, I can't sit in the rain. I can't do that. But next year I plan on because they're doing away games now, but next year I plan on attending one of the games. Same with soccer, all the sports, rugby, lacrosse, anything that you can think of, get in there, be part of that fan base. It's a way to create community with people. And I think sometimes because you think, oh, I didn't grow up doing sports, or there's something possibly with sports that you can kind of like relate to, even if it's not football, even if it's not like the standard sports, there might be something you might be into cricket, right? You're like, oh, this cricket, it's like, it's bussin'. So, yeah, I'm sure my niece heard this and like, please do not ever say bussin' again, Aunt Lainey. That's so cringe. But like, I mean, there's some kind of sport, because with the sport comes a community and all that stuff, and it kind of builds from there, right? Okay, now that I'm off my soapbox again, let's talk about downtown Grandview. Now, uh, I'm in my time machine again. A couple of weeks ago, I went and met a friend for lunch in downtown Grandview, and I went to the Housewife, which again, I will on my Aunt Lainey's podcast. I will do a review of that place. And but what I really appreciate about downtown Grandview, I haven't been there in a while. Now I've been to the Grandview a couple years ago. I went to the Grandview farmers market, which is a cute little market. It's not downtown, but it's a cute little market, and it's a perfect market to go to. To me, it's like an extension of a grocery store in the sense of like, you're going, you know what you want to get, you park your car, you go, you visit your crafting friends because there's always crafting. So let's say you had a birthday party that day, you also had to like, get some groceries, whatever. That's the place you go and do it because you can find something cute for the birthday person and pretty affordable, and you can say hi to all your market friends, and then you can pick up your produce or your food or whatever it is and be on your way. I love it. You can be in and out of there in 20 minutes. Okay, so I like there's a lot of brick. It's like a Main Street USA kind of downtown, very similar to Blue Springs downtown, like that Main Street, like all the brick, all the things like that. And it looks like they've done some they've definitely expanded and they've done some landscaping, all of that. And so I was like, oh wow, Grandview's done come up because I don't remember Grandview looking like that, downtown Grandview. But it's been a long time since I've been there. So I definitely have a plan to go back. They do have a museum there. There's like and I really want to go, but I think I look at the hours and I'm always like, why can't I make this a museum again? And so I probably will have to, maneuver around to make that happen. It's like Grandview Historical Society, and they have got like the Historical Depot Museum, which sounds really cool. And I think what it is that it's open from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And so I always have to, I was like, I think I forget that. And I think it's open like until like a little bit later. And I'm always, dang it, I'm missing this. Like, so that's on my list. I put that on my list because I want to check that out. Okay, now I am moving on to, and I'm all over the place. Listen, when I do the show notes, I just might have to guess. I've tried to number what I did, but I'm all over the place here, and because I'm trying to catch up, and but I'm also very thankful that I have like this full life that enables me to do all the things that I'm doing. Okay, so now we're going to talk about TWA. I finally went to the TWA Museum, and I'm embarrassed because I'm in the Northland, and that museum is very close to where I live. And every time I'm like, I need to go to that museum, and then I just go and do something else. And I'm like, I really want to go this time, and then I'm like, okay, whatever. But so I was thinking it was going to be the kind of museum like one of those nice museums that we have here, like 2 rooms, kind of humble, kind of very interesting, whatever. No, y'all, that museum was actually pretty big. Like I would say you should bring some walking shoes because there's a lot of different layers to it and I have a really cute gift shop. I was proud of myself. I did not get anything because I have a lot of stuff. Okay. So, but I would encourage you to get, go in there, support it. If you're not unlike me, like I'm an auntie that's getting rid of a lot of stuff. And but it was super cute in there and just looking at the different and they've got tour guides like you can take a self-guided tour in some parts of it but then when you go across the threshold then you have to get a guided tour so I mean for me I just wanted to walk around take pictures I thought it was just one or two rooms like oh no it keeps going so I definitely would recommend getting a guided tour. So I was kind of eavesdropping on the guided tour ahead of me, and they were talking about the different costumes, well, uniforms that because they were called stewardesses back then or air hostesses back then, wore and how they really tried to market certain things. And sometimes the marketing was good and it worked. And sometimes it was like, what were you thinking? And all of it, again, it's one of those things, it's all in good fun. And they honored people that were fallen. From plane tragedies, air tragedies, all that stuff. So I really respected that. And then, then they showed us like some of the old training modules that they would do, like the things that they would use, and then also like they had like airline seats, like real ones, and I was like, and they had a screen, and I asked, I'm like, do you guys ever have like private parties and just screen things from the airport, like the airline seats? And I think he did say that they did, they did events, they did kind of birthday parties, all that stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. And then I think they have something where the scouts come in sometimes and they get their, I think it's aviation badges, something like that. But I was like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. So it is definitely a museum. And I would say you need to give yourself at least an hour and a half in that museum, 2 hours, if you're really doing it right. Now, if you just want to do a walkthrough, it's still going to take about 45 minutes, I think, at least. Like if you're doing the quick and dirty, like, oh, look, cool, click, 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 click with your camera and keep going. It's going to take at least 45 minutes. This is not a place where you can just breeze in and breeze out because well the exhibits are very interesting and if you do the guided tour like you want to listen and absorb all of the history there. Okay, now I'm looking at that like I'm like going through my list. I did go to the Ivanhoe farmers market, Ivanhoe neighborhood farmers market. I'll talk about that on my Aunt Lainey's podcast. I interviewed some one of the market managers there and I actually got to meet her in person and you know what, the passport program is back, you guys. I'm going to take a picture. They have a nice little yellow cover this time. I was like, oh, look at you guys. So basically what you do is there are farmers markets and places where, that are participating, and you go to that place, you get your stamp. And I think if you get so many stamps, there's some kind of prize or something like that that you get. But also, when I brought that passport with me last year, even the ones that weren't participating, there were spots for them to like, to stamp. I was like, right on. So that was pretty exciting to me. Now, I don't know how much, like, because I've been to a lot of those farmers markets before. And so right now I'm kind of on the thing where it's like I'm trying to go to farmers markets I haven't been to because, the season, even though it seems long, it's so short because there's other things that I'm doing. I'm also doing museums. So you're gonna get a lot of content from me that's gonna like be about possibly fountains, museums, definitely, farmers markets, and downtowns. And then I want to be better about talking about some of the events that are coming up, because I do know sometimes it's like some are one-off events, and so it's like, okay, well, I mean, I'm going to this, but it's not, and I just now saw it, so I can only tell you after the fact. And so I'm trying to get better about, telling people some of the things that are happening. And also, I know there are some people, like today, for example, it's May 10th, and the all-inclusive rodeo is here today and then tomorrow on Mother's Day. And so that's happening right now. And there's also like a lot of cool things online. I know some people, toward the end of my mom's life, she was kind of not housebound, but it was kind of more difficult for her to move around. So we had to kind of make, accommodations for her, as we should. We're her children. And so, certain things like online things might be better, or things where you can kind of like drive through, like a drive-through situation, or you can get parking right up at the door. um that might be something as well to do. And then, something else that sometimes we forget about is all of the art festivals. Like right now, May 11th, Art on Walnut is going to happen. And they've got things for, the local bands that play. And I would say, if you've got a favorite local band, just put their name in Google and see where when they're playing, right? And then you can kind of get an idea for all the different venues in town, just in general. And there might be another one. And there's a lot of coffee shops that are hosting, like, they have music with acoustic people, or people that are kind of doing folk music, kind of like an easy listening music. And to me, that counts as as supporting local musicians. And a lot of times, those coffee shops or those smaller venues, they're having daytime shows, so you can go from like 1 to 3, and like drink your coffee, have a little sandwich or whatever, or a little wrap, listen to some live music, and go on home. And you are home by like 4 o'clock, right? Or you can still go out and do all of your shopping. So there's a lot of daytime events that happen. A lot of food festivals going on. Like June is going to be like busting that all over. So the Festa Italiana in Zona Rosa is happening at the end of this month. It's like May 30th through June 1st. And I'm actually excited for this because I keep missing it. Okay. And this year, I don't want to miss it. I want to go. I think it's rained in the past, or I had things that ran a little long and I was trying to get there on the earlier side. And so I just ended up not doing it. Now, something else I'm trying to go to is First Fridays. Every time I've tried to go, it's been rainy. I didn't go last week because I had so much to do. I wish I would have gone, but I had so much to do and take care of. It just wasn't going to happen. And again, Quaint and Cozy KC, it's just not about going out all the time, although it is fun to do that. Sometimes, you got to be homebound. You're going to be doing things in your house. You're going to be like, I have been like watching Discovery Plus, and as I, sort through pictures, because I've got a picture album project that I'm doing. And again, when I do projects, sometimes I have to do them in a couple phases. So this phase is just to scan the pictures in to my drive, and then I'll be putting them in like photo albums, just so they're not like loose in like photo boxes, the small ones. And then I'll be looking to see what I can do as far as, putting them all together, because I do have bigger pictures and I don't want them just to kind of stay, in there. But I don't have enough room to put frames. I don't have enough surfaces to put framed photos, everywhere. So again, it's going to be a process. I'll probably have to follow someone on YouTube and figure out how to do it, or follow some group, photo album group. I don't know. But I'm in the first phase this weekend of, getting the photos. Like after I record this podcast and then another podcast that I've got to do for Aunt Lane's Kitchen, I'm going to be doing my photos. And then tonight I'm going to be going to see Thunderbolts and like that Marvel movie. And it made me think, I'm like, somebody mentioned to me, well, you don't really do movie reviews. And I'm like, well, no, it's Quaint and Cozy KC. But then I think, okay, you know what? Movies, and as someone who used to work in the film industry, that's a part of Quaint and Cozy KC as well. And speaking of that, and this is like where I just go all, the drive-in. I haven't been to the drive-in in a very long time. So that's on my list. But also, you guys, they've got films in the park that you can go to and bring your picnic on the fly and, sit and enjoy, like sitting out with your family with your lawn chairs, your park and all that stuff. So don't sleep on those, like those movies in the park, because that's a whole outing. And a lot of times those places are near uh, uh like eating establishments. So you can go have dinner. Maybe you don't even want to do a picnic per se. You want to eat dinner and then they also sell like sweet treats there too. So I mean, you might be someone who doesn't want to deal with, trying to get your own candy, trying to do your own movie box. You just want to eat at the restaurant and then go and like, get a sweet treat and then, watch the movie, right? So movies in the park, also like the libraries, like the Kansas City Public Library, like the downtown one, they have like movies that they do as well. So, you should get on that list. Downtown Kansas City Library, they get on that list. Like they have, I think you can opt in via email or whatever, that public library, they always have stuff going on. And also the other libraries in town do as well. So if you're someone that's trying to keep the budget a little, sane, or you're someone that is like, everything you do has to be on some kind of bus line or easy to Uber or easy to get like, dropped off or whatever, don't sleep on the libraries, y'all. Now I know they don't do things not now the downtown public library is a little bit different because they'll do things at night. But I know some of these other ones, they close on Saturdays at like 5 or 6 or something like that. So, but you can have like a fun afternoon there. Like they're doing stuff in the afternoon, and some of these the movies that I talked about, like the movies in the park, all that stuff generally happens like kind of towards the evening. So if you're somebody because I was talking to someone about this. Some people are very reluctant about the Quaint and Cozy KC lifestyle just because, and just Quaint and Cozy in general, right? Not just limited to Casey, because they think, well, I don't, I like being home on the earlier side, but I feel like I'm not doing anything on Saturday night. Even though I packed my day full of stuff, I want to get dressed up. I want to kind of go out and do something at night, like not stay out too late, but I want to do something at night. And so, the library, the downtown Kansas City Public Library event, then also the movies in the park will give you that option. Um, there's a lot of low key lounge places like NYX up here in the lounge up here in the Gladstone area. And there's other places too, just kind of suss them out where you can go and it's easy to park and it's a mellow vibe and you can like, put on your cute clothes and hang out for like a couple hours and all that stuff and be in a really nice environment. And it's probably in your neighborhood or it's probably two neighborhoods over. So um you don't even have to like go that far. You don't have to drive in your car that far. I love that rhymed. You can take an Uber over there. And so just again, or get dropped off by somebody, one of your friends. I don't know, but just some things to think about when you think, gosh, I'm just stuck in this house and because I don't want to, stay out too late. I just feel limited. And I don't want to say you're never limited because there are some times where we are limited, but I would say that the limitations sometimes are they're not as limiting as you may believe. Okay. Now moving on from that. So I think that is it for today's show. I feel like I've been on here forever. Thank you guys so much for all the support. You can find me at quaintandcozykc.com. You can find me on Facebook at Quaint and Cozy KC, on Instagram at Quaint and Cozy Quaint on Instagram at Quaint and Cozy KC. Also, I'm on TikTok, Quaint and Cozy KC. What I do on TikTok a lot is I do a lot of slideshows. I don't do a lot, like I do some live videos, but it's a lot of slideshows. And I mainly do that because there's people on TikTok that are not on the Book of Faces anymore. And so, I want to promote the stuff we were doing in Kansas City and all that stuff, the Quaint and Cozy lifestyle. So I got to reach everybody, right? I got to reach everyone. Okay. Take care, everyone, and I will talk to you soon.